Homeschool families, welcome back to my channel, Eat the Meat and Throw Away the Rest. Today we are going to dive into Chapter 1, How Homeschool Found the Perez Family. So if this is interesting to you, go ahead and hit the subscription button and that notification bell, and let's dive right in. Give you a little bit of background with my family. So as I had mentioned in our intro, we are a very small family. We are a Christian family and a very small family. It's myself, my husband, and our daughter, and she's currently in the second grade. We are a bilingual family. My husband is from Dominican Republic, and Spanish is his first language, and he speaks Spanish in the home. I am from here, the States, and English is my first language, and we also speak English in the home. So we are a bilingual family. I currently am a school teacher. I work as a part-time ESL specialist in a public school district. I, in the past, have worked as a reading specialist and a Montessori as well as a traditional educator in the schools. And so I do have some educational background. So in my private community that I have, not a YouTube community, but my private community that I have in the area that I live in, I work with some homeschool moms. I help them get started with their homeschool. And they ask me the question, like, how did you get started and how do you maintain? So that's what this chapter is about today, how we got started with homeschooling. Well, homeschooling was not our first intent. We live in a really excellent school district, very highly rated, and they work very well with kids that have unique needs. So when my daughter was in preschool, we immediately enrolled her in our public school of the area that we live in, and it was successful. It was great. Teachers are highly trained. However, my daughter had a speech IEP, and they were ready to move her on into kindergarten. And she wasn't really talking much. As a reading specialist, I knew that although they implemented oral language in the preschool, but if you're not a participator, you're not really acquiring the knowledge. And at that time, she wasn't participating in the activities, and so she wasn't acquiring the language. So I wanted her to be held back, but the district did not do that. So we went ahead and enrolled her into a specialized school that focused on communication. So it focused on kids that had IEPs with speech delays. And so we enrolled her in this program. It was a good year. She was in a very small class, and she had a lot of time with her teacher, although she still did not acquire, with this specialized school, we just didn't feel like she was developing enough. So towards the end of her kindergarten year, I attended a homeschool convention because I just knew there were just some things that were missing in her education that I just felt like maybe it needed to come from home. So that was pretty much the first time I started thinking homeschool. So when I attended the conference, it was phenomenal and I was all in, but at that time I was a full-time reading specialist in a public school district, and I was being pulled in many different areas, and then my husband worked full-time. And we do not have family that live in the area, so we just didn't know how we were going to be able to homeschool. But every ounce of my mom being was like, homeschool. I got scared and put her back into this specialized school, starting her first grade year. I want to back up a little and also talk about the summer. So I did start homeschooling her the summer of after her kindergarten year. I started homeschooling her, and I started working with her on talking. I was doing implementing Heggerty with her myself, and she started using phrases and words. She knew all of her letter sounds by the end of the summer, and I felt like she was pretty, she had acquired some skills. She was talking to me using sentences and phrases, and I felt like at this point, okay, I can send her back to school knowing she can retain information. So when we sent her back to school, the whole dynamic of this specialized school changed, and the classroom that they had my daughter in, was just a classroom where they just threw all of the children. It was not managed well, and she struggled tremendously. She was taking on behaviors that she was seeing in the classroom. There must have been a lot of screaming and yelling and loud sounds and noises because she was afraid of any loud sound. Any sound, if you would put a cup down too hard, she would start crying. She was emotionally unstable. She had behaviors that she started acquiring. Her communication decreased, and she started doing more moanings and imitating what she was seeing. And, by the time we came to October, it was time for us to do her ETR to see if she was going to need any more services besides an IEP for speech. And, when I sat down with the team, they had so many negative things to say. It was unbelievable. I had been in so many IEPs and ETR meetings with the role that I play in a in an urban school district. And so, but I had never been in such a poorly managed ETR meeting. It was awful. And after that meeting, I knew I was going to be pulling her out. I went to my husband, told him what happened, and he said, "Give me 1 month and I'm going to change up my schedule and we can homeschool." And that's exactly what we did. We started homeschooling her December of last year. And so that's how we started homeschooling. So this kind of came to us suddenly. So we just, I pulled out a lot of the information that I had acquired at the conference that I had attended, and we just dove right in. So the one thing that I did was I wrote down everything that I did not, that I wanted to change about my daughter. She was not talking. I wanted to increase her communication. She was terrified of everyone. She was terrified to go to the park and play. She was scared of noises. She didn't want to socialize with people. She had no academic skills. The letter sounds that she learned that summer, she didn't have that because no one worked with her at this school. And so at this point, she didn't even like school. And my daughter always loved school. So I decided to do what was called deschool. I wanted to change her whole perspective of school because school was now going to be different for her. It's going to be different than what she sees the children doing in the neighborhood. So I had to deschool her. When I chose to deschool her, I wrote down everything. I wrote down all of her goals. So one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted her to have a love for learning. So I wanted her to increase her communication. I wanted her to I wanted that fear gone. She had an immense amount of fear, afraid of everyone, everything, afraid to be in the house by herself. She had this crazy fear on her. And so I took all those things. I sought out a therapist to help with her with the regulation. I sought out scripture and Bible studies to help support and speak into her to get rid of that fear. We looked into activities to help get her more involved. So we put her in swimming, we put her in therapeutic horseback riding, and then we took our living room and we made it into a whole entire school. So so when we introduced school in January to her, we were like, this is our new school, this is how we're going to do this, and we were really excited about it, and so was she. So we spent several months from January to about March, and that's what we did. We deschooled her, we did learning through play, a lot of activities with her, just acquiring just a sense of peace and safety, to know she's safe here at home in her new school. And it worked. By the time we got to March, April, the homeschool convention came back around, and this time we went as a family. They had homeschool for dads, so they talked about the role that dads can play. They had it in Spanish for people who were trying to start homeschool and Spanish was their first language. So my husband was able to participate in that. He was able to learn how he can be a contributing factor to our homeschool, and he came up with a whole plan for when he was going to be with her. We were able to revamp our homeschool after the convention and make it more academic, centered around academics. We were able to increase socialization because by March and April she was showing signs of wanting to be more socialized. So going into the summer, our homeschool moved into more academic and socially focused. So we were really excited about that. So we focused on that. We were able to find an organization that could help with her IEP, and just we found amazing teachers, and these teachers really invested in her and helped her develop some of her skills, helped let her know that she can go into another place. It is safe. People care about her and respect her, and she could learn from other teachers. So we partnered with this organization, this learning service, and they provide services for her IEP there, and then we provide her general education at home. And I'm really excited to report that starting her second grade year, it is full-blown homeschool. We have a full-blown homeschool room, which I'm going to share in our next video. We have partnered with this learning services. We've got teachers on board. We've updated her IEP. She is learning. She speaks completely with sentences. She can understand English and Spanish. She is reading now. After 1 year, she has grown so much spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, and academically. And we just praise God for that. So that is our story. Please leave comments, any questions or comments that you have in the comment section. Please leave your questions, and I will address those questions in our next video. But our next video, which will be next Sunday, is going to be our homeschool room. And so from this point forward, now that you know our background story and why we had to dive into homeschool, now everything that we do, we're going to share with you. We didn't just start and it's been the same. We've actually had to grow and evolve because she's growing and evolving. So next week, please come and visit us again next Sunday at 8 o'clock, and we're going to talk about the homeschool room. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this video was helpful. Again, leave any questions that you have for me that you would like for me to address in the comments below. And eat the meat and throw away the rest. We'll see you next time.